Hey everybody, it's Miss Denton. I am back again to give you another art lesson to do this week. I hope that you are enjoying this beautiful weather that we've been blessed with. I hope that you are enjoying time with your family, and I am looking forward to the day that we can make art together again soon. So stay tuned and enjoy this lesson. All right, welcome back. We're going to be creating a little paper snail today. He's really fun. So the things that you're going to need are a paper plate. So any paper plate will do. If you don't have a paper plate, you can actually cut a circle out of a white piece of paper or any other colored paper and use that as the back of your snail. You will need either some colored paper or some white paper and some crayon so you can color your paper in two different colors. And you will also need either a glue stick or liquid glue and some scissors and a dark colored marker. So that's what you will need. So let's get started. So I'm gonna use colored paper just because it's gonna be a little bit quicker for me to just use the colored paper instead of coloring my own. I'm gonna save the yellow for the head of my snail, but then I'm gonna take these three colors, the pink, the orange, and the green, and I'm going to cut them into strips and then cut them into small little pieces. All right, so I'm not gonna need a whole lot of it. So what I'm probably gonna do is cut right on this edge right here, on the short edge of the paper. I'm gonna cut as straight of a line as I can. It doesn't matter if it's not perfectly straight. I'm just gonna cut a strip of paper off. So here's one strip. So I'm gonna cut 3 strips of orange. So I'm gonna use this first one that I cut off kind of as a guide so that I can see about how big I made it, so I can try to keep them the same. If you wanna use a pencil and maybe draw the line, that might be helpful. Or if you don't really care, maybe some of them being bigger and smaller will look kind of cool, because we're gonna be using this paper to make the spiral. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing. So here are my 3 strips. I'm gonna do the same thing with the pink and the green, and I'll be back just a minute. All right, so here are all of my strips. So remember, you can always pause and do some of the activity if you need some more time, because I'm pausing mine whenever I'm creating mine, so don't think that I cut these super fast. It took me a little bit of time, but as you can see, they're not perfect. They're about the same size, and that's fine as long as they're close. So the next step is that we're gonna cut them into little squares. So I'm gonna take my 3 green, I'll start with my green, and I'm gonna stack them on top of each other because it's gonna make it a little bit faster. And I'm just gonna use my scissors and I'm going to cut them into little pieces. So I'm just cutting little squares of my green, because we're gonna be using these to create the spiral effect of the snail shell on the back. That's why I'm using these bright colors, because I thought it would look really fun to have bright colors. All right, so here are all of my green squares. So now I'm gonna do the same thing for the pink and the orange paper, and then I will be right back. All right, so now I have all of my pieces cut up, and I want to go ahead and make a pattern on my plate for a snail shell. So a snail shell usually is a spiral shape. So I'm gonna be using a glue stick to put my pieces on, just because it'll be easier for me because I'm outside and I don't want my pieces to blow away. But if you have liquid glue, you can definitely use liquid glue as well. So let's get started. All right, so I'm gonna start by opening up my glue, and I find it's easier to take each piece and put it on the glue and put glue like that, because if I put glue all over my plate, it's gonna look kind of funky at the end, and then I probably am gonna waste a bunch of glue that I didn't need to use. So I'm gonna start, I just happen to grab pink first. So I'm gonna rub it on the edge of my glue stick like this, and I'm gonna put my first piece in the center. Okay, so I glued it right there in the center of my plate. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another piece, and I'm gonna make kind of like a pattern. So now I'll do green, rubbing it, and then I'm gonna stick my green. And as you can see, I'm kind of to the side because I'm gonna try to make a spiral. So my orange, now I'm going to the side here, okay, because I'm starting to come back around to make a swirl shape. And my pink. Oops, didn't put enough glue. Sticking to my finger. And green. And orange. So you see how I'm starting to just kind of make a spiral with my pieces. So I'm going to continue just gluing in a spiral around my paper plate, and then I'll show you when I'm all done. Finished my swirl, but I feel like you can't really see my swirl very well. So I'm going to go back with a black marker to make sure you can really see that spiral effect on the snail. So this pink one was that first one that I put down. And so I'm going to start here. And I'm gonna kind of go around it like this. And then I'm gonna continue with a black marker the spiral that I created with my paper. Just because I want to make sure you can really see that design that we put all that effort into making. As you can see, I went all the way around the edge of my plate. So there we go. Now you can really see that spiral effect on the snail's back. All right, so remember I told you to save a piece of paper for the head, so I decided to use yellow. Remember, these are just the colors I happen to have at my house. You can use any colors you want. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to make a rounded shape for his head. You can do it either way, it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna draw just a curved shape like this. And then I want to give him a really, really long neck just because I want to make sure that I have enough paper to glue his head on. All right, so that's all I'm going to do, and I'm going to cut this out. So now I have my snail's head, and I want to glue it on the underneath of my paper plate. So the reason why I made this so long is because I wanted to make sure I had a big enough piece that I could add a bunch of glue onto to glue underneath my paper plate. So I'm going to take my glue stick, and I'm going to add the glue onto his head. So there's my glue, and I'm going to turn over my paper plate and glue it down in the center. That's why I put so much glue, because I wanted to make sure that I get a nice attachment for his head. Right, now I'm going to flip it over. And now he has a little head. There's my snail. So, I want to give him a little smile. Okay, and then I want to give him a little eyeball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use a white sheet of paper. And I'm going to, this is a scratch sheet of paper. I'm going to make a circle with another circle inside of it for my snail eye, and then I'm going to cut this out and glue it on. All right, so I'm going to add the little eye right here onto my snail. The thing I feel like we're missing from our snail is usually we see them with two little antennas on the top of their head. So we're going to use our colored paper. So I'm going to pick a random color, let's see, maybe orange. And I'm going to just cut two very skinny strips of paper. So I cut 2 little pieces of paper off of my orange, and I'm gonna glue them to the back of the head. So I added the glue to the end of my paper, and I'm just gonna go behind the snail's head and glue them on. All right, so here's our finished snail. I hope you enjoyed this craft. I enjoyed making this as well, and I will send you another video next week.